So I'm super excited to be speaking at Creative Mornings. When she asked me to speak, it was like the beginning of the year, she gave me a list of topics to choose from. And I looked down and I was like, work? Done. I do that every day, not a problem. Can definitely talk about that for 20 minutes. But then, the more I got to thinking about it, I was like, it kind of encompasses so many things. But it was definitely a topic that resonated with me instantly in a lot of ways. And the very first thing that came to mind is something that my dad has always told me growing up, which is work hard now so you don't have to work hard later. And that's something that I really try and live by and I think about pretty often, especially when I don't want to wake up in the mornings. But to give you a little background about me, for those of you who may not be familiar with Sugar and Cloth, I actually started Sugar and Cloth in September of 2011, so just over 4 years ago. I had just moved to Houston. I was going to school in West Virginia for graphic design, and I was going to my junior year. And I decided that I was getting a full ride. I decided that I was going to quit school. I thought my dad was going to pass out, my mom too. They almost disowned me, and I literally had no plan whatsoever. I was just like, meh, school's not for me. Who cares that school's free? So anyways, I quit school, and I followed a few friends to North Carolina, and after a very long string of life events and odd jobs, I realized that I could actually not afford to live in North Carolina without having a degree or a career that I knew that I was going to actually sustain life with. But after moving away, I didn't want to move back to West Virginia, though I love it because there's just no opportunity there for the kind of things that I love. So I had an aunt and uncle that were living in Houston, and I was like, okay, I'll try that because I can't afford to live here, can't go back home, and I need somewhere to start new. So I came to Houston, and I got a job that I could make money with that was decent the quickest way possible. So I started working at a seafood restaurant off of I-45. That went about as well as you would imagine, going from, artistic background to waiting tables. And I had been there for a while, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and it wasn't that, and all of a sudden I was waiting on this table one day. I forgot that I have slides. This is a story about tartar sauce. So anyways, I was waiting on this table one day, and they started yelling at me because I forgot their tartar sauce for their fried oysters. And I was like, and not just ma'am, can I please get some tartar sauce? It was belligerently yelling at me because they did not have their condiments. And so I was like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know. I went from having a free ride to college to, getting yelled at about tartar sauce and, a dirty waiter's apron. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm determined to put something out there and figure it out. So anyways, this is all leading somewhere, by the way. So all that to say, I started Sugar and Cloth. I ended up meeting a lot of people through that. The only readers that I had at the very beginning were my mom, dad, brother, and my grandma. And they all really tried to leave comments as much as possible to make me feel better. But I actually met a lot of people through that, and I started working at Smile Booth, and I met a lot of you in this room that way. And I learned a lot of things the hard way doing that, obviously. And so I kind of felt bad standing up here in front of you talking about work when I don't think I'm necessarily the best candidate. I didn't do everything right. I probably made some mistakes that I should have known better in the beginning. My common sense told me not to do that, and I did it anyways. So I was like, how do you sit and talk about work to a room of people who are clearly already successful, or you wouldn't be here? And you've already kind of chosen to take that leap. You have a creative endeavor, and you have the ideas to do it with. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to sit in front of you and pretend that I know everything. And so instead of teaching you all the things I did and didn't do right, I figured I would tell you about something that I know for sure that is one of the few things I did right from the very beginning. And hopefully it resonates with someone. If not, just tell me it did afterwards. So I think, the word work, it encompasses so many different things. It's everything we did in school. It's our relationships. It's being parents. It's learning how to trust. It's choosing to be nice to someone when you don't feel like being nice. That takes work for me. And, even as simple as like walking past the cookie jar when you really want that second cookie. I mean, sugar's in the name, so I clearly have trouble with that. And I feel like we also associate the word work really easily with, paying bills or getting from point A to point B in a career. But to me, the word work is essentially the same thing as the word effort. It just has a different connotation. Work is the effort that we put into school. Work is the effort that we put into those relationships. It is how we learn trust. It is even walking past the cookie jar and refraining when you really want to. And I think the only difference between those two words is your outlook on it. For instance, when something isn't going well, people will usually say, we're working on it. But then if you talk to them in a different season, they'll tell you something like, we put a lot of effort into it. And I find that really interesting. It really is all in your perspective of what you're working towards or what effort you put into something. I should have got a bigger stool so I could just, if someone told me to, for instance, sit next to an accountant and do my job while they sit and do theirs, you'd see like zero similarities, and my accountant will back me up on that, especially based on my receipt drawer. What we do when we go to work is nothing like, but if you remove the word work and replace it with effort, then all of a sudden it's an even playing field. The accountant is free to put in just as much work as I am to put into my work, even though they're different. And I think that what that says is that no one can ever limit the amount of effort that you put into something. Even if everyone in this room does a different job, we can all give the same amount of effort. No one can stop you. All of a sudden, that makes us equals, no matter our job titles, abilities, or luck. And depending on your definition of success, that also makes achieving success equal too. If we can all put in the same amount of effort, then you can succeed just as much as I can. I'm going to show you a few images of what my blog posts look like in the beginning. Okay, so this was a photo from my very first DIY post. Clearly, I thought that somehow this moody look really brought out those paper flowers that I DIY'd. I'm not quite sure where I went with that. That was one of the more artistic ones. I just wanted to give you the very first one. I was hoping it was going to be worse than that, so I went ahead and took it upon myself to show you one that was just as bad. Yeah, you're welcome. I must have really embraced that Texas home decor DIY when I first moved here, because I feel like that fully encompasses that Texas chic. That round top look. Anyways, so, and I had just discovered Google Picasa, and so I just was collaging the crap out of everything. Anyways, we've moved on since then, luckily, although I actually probably put just as much effort, if not more. I would slave in my little apartment, hovered over a window, taking photos of these little intricate things, even though it only turned out to be this sad. This was a project that I did, which is actually how Sugar and Cloth started to grow. I had this featured in, by Wired magazine. It's a marquee light, which you can't really tell because of the light. But it started getting a little bit better. I was like, okay, I started to find my aesthetic a bit. And then now I'm dating up with Jared in the back, who now takes all of our photos. So everything got much better after that. And now this is obviously what you're used to seeing. And even though I basically had no idea what I was doing in the beginning, and you can see from those photos, looking from then to this photo now, a lot of people, I think, would view that as successful. Like, you've succeeded. You went from a dirty waiter's apron to producing that on a day-to-day basis instead. And yes, I developed like a recognizable brand and aesthetic based on these images, while also being able to afford something on the Chick-fil-A kids menu. Not a lot else sometimes, but with this new level of achievement, it's funny how it kind of comes with its own burdens. It has like new stresses, like new obstacles to learn. When a company grows, it's like you think you understand what's going on, and then you have to hire someone, and you're like, what just happened? I have no idea. And if you had shown me then, that person standing at a waiter's table, this now, first of all, I would have never believed you that would ever happen. I would not have thought that was me. But I probably would have told you that I viewed this as an image of success. But now that I'm standing here in this moment, it doesn't really feel like success. And that doesn't mean that I don't think that where I've come from then is a giant leap. It just means that it was so many sleepless nights in such a long, steady race that you kind of don't really see it for what it is. It doesn't feel that way. It didn't feel overnight. We still have lots of long, sleepless nights. To me, it's still the same as it was that first day. It just makes certain things a little bit easier. And that's the funny thing about effort. It's not really something you're ever meant to give up. I put in the same amount of effort now as I did in the very beginning when no one was watching. And if effort is something that you're never meant to give up, how is it that you're supposed to measure that? And I think this quote by George S. Patton is something that really explains it well for me. I think we can all resonate with this at some point. The test of success is not what you do when you're on top. Success is how high you bounce when you hit the bottom. And I don't know about you all, but that moment for me was when I was sitting in front of that table wearing a dirty waiter's apron, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I didn't have a college degree. I have no money. But right then is when I decided that I was going to do whatever it would take to get as far away from that moment as I could. And the good news is that how high you bounce is infinite when no one can limit the amount of effort that you put into something. And I think remembering that spark is more important than, all of these things that we go to and we learn, like, how do I learn productivity better? How do I, have work-life balance, which is laughable. I couldn't teach you anything about that. I don't know. So we can learn these things, and it can obviously help us along the way, but I think the biggest thing that differentiates us as creatives, as husbands, wives, friends, people who trust, people who give, people who are caring, is how much effort we put into that more than anything else. And I think remembering that is the key point in A, keeping your motivation and your spark alive, and B, keeping you grounded, because you're not any different than the person who's starting out today or the person who's starting out tomorrow or 2 years from now. And I don't think I'm the best blogger. I don't think I'm the best DIYer, but I think that I put in a lot of effort, and that is the one thing that I've done right from the beginning, and that I think everyone is capable of. So that's all.